2, 3, and here we are. We are live. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Positive Power Hour. I'm Dan, your host, and this is my co-host, my lovely daughter, Nicole. Welcome, everybody. It's nice to have everyone here. I'm going to get our comment side opened up here in a second, and I've got that going. So when you guys are ready to let us know you're here, we'll love hearing from you. And for those of you watching the recorded version of our show, our whole purpose for being here is to help you get where you want to go in your life. And as I mentioned in our post today, this morning, the announcement was the way you get your life right is to get your mind right, right? So that's what we're going to work on. And every single visit that you have here is to make sure you got your thinking working in the way that's working for you instead of what's working against you. All right. And we all deal with that, right? None of us have mastered it. But the whole idea is to get better and better and better at it. And perfect practice makes perfect results, right?
So hi, Kimberlyn.
Yes. Hi, Kimberlyn. Welcome aboard. Glad you're here. And so that's one of the things we're going to talk about tonight is practice makes perfect. And we've got a number of things to mention, but I want to get some housework out of the way first here. And the first thing we want to mention is that my co-host has been suffering with sciatica, right? Is that the right term for it?
Yeah.
And it's a quite painful condition for those of you that have experienced it. My wife tells me I'm a pain in the ass, but I don't think that's the same thing, is it?
No.
I didn't think so. So we are going to allow her to wave a red flag or a white flag, whichever the case might be, that gets to where it's just too uncomfortable for her to sit there. And we would let that go earlier if we would let go earlier of our show if that becomes the case. All right. So I wanted to put that out front for those of you that if all of a sudden you see her waving that paper and I say goodnight, you'll know why. All right. Okay. So we have Facebook that says, I know that sciatica crap, and I don't know who that is, but I have a feeling it might be the same person that was our Facebook user last week. Is it David by any chance? And whoever that is, I would love to know who you are because we love knowing our audience. Nancy. Oh, hi, Nancy.
Hi, Nancy.
Glad you're here.
I feel your pain.
And it's Nancy. Oh, now I wonder how Melly knows it's Nancy, but we don't. Maybe Melly can tell. Melly's driving, I think, isn't she? No, it's Nancy. That's what I meant. Yeah, I knew. That's who I was talking about. Okay. Well, welcome everybody. Yes, we're glad you're here, and we're glad everybody's here. We started talking about sciatica, and we'll get on to better topics here very quickly. One of the things I wanted to mention tonight is that I have a saying that I have as my signature on my emails, and it is that what you think is happening to you is actually happening for you. And I mention that to everyone that I see, or to a lot of people when I see them. And they think, oh, that's a really interesting saying, right? Because, and I know we've talked about this on the show before, but again, what we cover here is called repetition. We want to continuously remind ourselves and each other of the ways that help us to get where we want to go and smoothing out that great big up and down thing that people go through in life, right? And just get a solid trajectory moving upward, right?
Or even.
Yeah, well, even means you're flatline. We don't want that either, right? But we want to be progressing upward, right?
Yes.
And we'll get into some more of that in a few minutes here. But so thinking about what is happening to you is actually happening for you helps you in those times when things seem overwhelming or to be really awful, right? And the reality is every time we've been through one of those times, we can see a week or a month or a year later that if that hadn't happened, we wouldn't have had this other experience that happened because of that, right? So if we can remember that ahead of time, we shorten that feeling of chaos and that feeling of dread and doom and gloom, and we get excited about what is this major turn in my life going to look like? What's going to happen here that I can be excited about?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And that's a whole different energy, isn't it? That's that energy of positivity that we're talking about. That we can look at anything that goes on and we can see God's hand in all of it. And that, remember that saying that I like that I saw scrolled on a pastor's huge chalkboard he had on the side of his house that said, "Those that can see God's hand in everything eventually sees everything in God." Or those that put everything in God's hands eventually sees God's hands in everything. And we just simply forget, right? We get all wrapped up in all of the challenges that go on in our life, and we forget that we're not running the show. The show's already been run. It's already been written, directed, and casted, and the play is already played out the way it's going to play, and we have so little to do with changing it. It's not even funny. So we have here, look at this. We have another. First of all, Melly lets us know that she's at the baseball tryouts waiting for Richard to start. Yay, Richard, and go, man, go. And thank you.
He's trying out for a new team.
How about that? And I'm sure he'll do very well.
Yes.
And then we have, I believe Virgil is returning. I think he's been on before from Manchester, England. Virgil, welcome to joining us, and his main interests are astrophysics, which has always fascinated him, as the block universe theory that all reality, including the future, exists now, kind of like destiny. Your death has already happened. Your time card, I believe, hasn't got you there, or your time car hasn't got you there yet. I get it. I make sense of this by thinking of the universe in a thought experiment of mine as a road with a beginning and an end, and time as your car. You drive through it with, but no reverse gear. The faster you go, the less you age because of time dilation. Very interesting. Bit over my head, but that's great, and I love that kind of thought process. Absolutely. And yes, you're very welcome, Virgil. It's nice to have you with us, of course. So what we think is happening to us is happening for us, and yes, Virgil's right on spot with what he was talking about with what we're covering here, right? And if we understand that the whole thing is already done, we don't have to stress out so much about it, right? Just give life a little energy and see where God takes it. You'll be amazed before you're halfway through. So that was the first thing I wanted to talk about tonight, was that saying that I have on my email, because it really does help me to remember to just see what happens. Quit trying to direct everything and just go with the flow. See how it plays out for you. You'll be amazed. And then the second thing that I wanted to talk about tonight was, I don't know if any of you have seen it yet, but there's a program on Netflix called Quarterback. And it's a documentary program based on, for this season anyway, three or four quarterbacks. I think it's three. Mahomes, Patrick Mahomes. Yeah, exactly right. The guy from the Vikings. Goodness. And then there's Joseph Mariota. And the other one will come to me, I'm sure. But yeah. Yo, Melinda's in the house. Hey,
That's the other Melinda.
Yes.
Hi,
nice
friend.
to have you here. I got to see her was it this morning? Yeah, I got to see her this morning.
It must be Monday.
Huh?
It must be Monday.
It must be Monday. Absolutely right. Anyway, the whole Kirk Cousins is the third one I was thinking about. So the great thing about watching it is that, we get to see these quarterbacks playing football, and Mahomes, Cousins, and Mariota. Yep, just what I was thinking about. Absolutely. Very good. Thank you for that. We appreciate the
For Pedro.
yeah, the assist. Virgil was talking about one of our ancient ancestors is the flat worm. Why don't they come back to us? Good question. Yes, I don't know. Anyhow, the nice thing about this show is we get to see them playing football on Sunday, and they get the glory of winning the game, or the what's the old saying, the joy of victory and the agony of defeat, right? And when they lose the game, it's like, oh, if I had just made that one play. And you get to hear them, especially Patrick Mahomes talked about how he loved the plays that worked, and he loved it when he won, of course, like we all do. But what he really enjoyed was going back over the game the next day and looking at plays where he didn't get it quite right. And the difference between beating himself up and really taking a look and really analyzing what he could do to be better, right? And that's really, I always talk about sports being the microcosm of the macrocosm, right? What happens in sports is a direct reflection of what happens in life. And the reason that players like these guys make tens of millions of dollars a year is for exactly the same, let me put up another banner here, as entrepreneurship, which is living a few years of your life like most people won't, so that you can spend the rest of your life like most people can't. All professional athletes are entrepreneurs. They are their own company. And that's the thought process that I really want to encourage each of us to develop, is the realization that you are your own company. I have to admit that I convert too many of my hours to too few dollars, right? Because I'm still working a job. JOB is just an acronym for just over broke, right? And see, even the dogs know. So we see these athletes, these finely tuned athletes who do amazing things to get in the shape they need to be in to do the job they want to do. And it's their passion, right? In fact, both Cousins and Mahomes talked about the fact that when they think about the amount of pain they go through, the amount of work they go through, the amount of studying they have to go through every single day just to get ready for the next Sunday, there are those times where they think, why am I doing this? And their answer is because it's their passion. They would do it for free if they weren't getting paid, because they just love it that much, right? And I would talk about this on the show all the time about what is your passion. I know for my daughter, and if I'm wrong, let me know, Nicole, but I know for a number of years, your whole passion was about raising your children. Am I wrong?
Nope.
No. And that was really, that consumed you. You wanted to be the best mother you could be, and you wanted to raise the best children in the world.
Well, I got the second part right.
And the truth of the matter is, you've raised very wonderful young human beings.
That's what I was saying. And the second part was, raising the best children in the world. And
absolutely.
I got that.
Yeah, you do. And you should feel, and I know you do feel really good about that fact, right? And I always say sometimes our children grow up well in spite of us.
That's what I was saying.
Right? But that was really your whole focus at that point. You weren't concerned about a job, or you'd work if you had to, but your whole thing was about raising those children, because being a great mom was what consumed you. And that's the way it is for great athletes. They every waking moment, they eat, sleep, and breathe their sport, right? And the commitment you see watching this show from those players is just amazing. And it reminds me that most of us come up way short of that. I know I come up short of that. I would rather, maybe get a little rest than just focus more on what I want to get and what I want to do. I kind of, I'm at that point now in my life where I can do the same things I did when I was 30, but I just can't do it for as long, right?
Because you're old.
Because I'm old. Exactly right. I am old. I'll say to Kate, I'm your old man. I said, I'm getting old, honey. And she goes, getting old? You are old.
We
All
keep
right,
him
what do we
in
got
check
here?
around here, guys.
Yeah. And some believe here's another one from Virgil. Some believe the fairies to be spirits of the dead, while some believe them to be fallen angels. Though the exact provenance of fairies is unknown, the idea of fairy is very dear to the English folklore. Since centuries, fairies have been painting the imagination of children and adults alike with their benevolence, notoriety, and magical powers. Any thoughts, guys? Well, on this side of the pond, we what's the word I want? Metaphysically oriented people believe that there are angels here all the time helping to guide us, and we just need to be still in our mind to hear the coaching that we get from the other side. And whether you believe in it or not, that's okay, right? You have a right to believe whatever you want to believe. So we'll leave it at that. And then Melly says, you should have stopped at the first kid, Mama. Laugh out loud, I'm the best. Yeah.
Oh.
Delusion is a wonderful thing, isn't it?
Oops.
All right. So, Cameron, here's the rebuttal. Comes right along. Sister says, I beg to differ. Yes, well, Kimberlyn, the great thing about being, what is she, third in the pecking line, right? Yeah, is that you get to watch all the mistakes the other two made and hone in better for yourself, right?
That and your parents aren't watching as well.
Yeah, because after the first one, you're about burned out with the next two. All right, so back to the sports analogy, right? These guys, they showed pictures of, I think it was Cousins. All of it, they showed a number of pictures of these guys just getting brutally tackled and smacked and just beat up, ribs broken and all kinds of things going on after a game, sitting in an iced pool that would be like 50 degrees if they jump in just to slow down the inflammation that's going on, right? Not a great answer, Kim. And then I set the rules. I'm the rule maker. Oh, okay. Well, I love the comments we're getting tonight. Those are very interesting, aren't they? So the whole gist of this thing is, and they talk about how much they have to study, like they go, God, at least if you're an athlete, you don't have to go to school anymore because all you have to do is play football, right? Or basketball or whatever the case is. And they're showing, are you kidding me? I spend more time studying now than I ever did in college, right? And, the reason these guys are prime athletes is, first of all, God gave them amazing gifts, right? They have a body that can do things that I can't do and you can't do, Nicole. And, but then there's the side of their own self-responsibility to do the things they need to do to reach the highest levels that they want to reach. And these guys, nearly all of them have families, so they've got to balance the work-home life balance. They have to work on that. They have to do all this conditioning. They talked about Mariota having his own personal chef to cook for him because left to his own devices, he'd go to McDonald's and get a breakfast burger every morning, right? But he knows he has to do these things to become the kind of athlete he wants to be, to live the kind of life he wants to live. Just like what we were talking about with our banner. And where'd the banner go? Let me get that back up here. Living a few years of your life like most people won't. And I guarantee you that every single one of those athletes, just like every single CEO of a big corporation or anybody that reaches any kind of level of any kind of success, will tell you that they constantly have to do their own inventory. They have to look at where are their strengths. They have to know what their strengths are. They have to know what their weaknesses are. They have to be able to look at the day that just transpired and say, okay, what can I do better? Just like Mahomes talking about, I study more the plays I didn't actually make than the ones I make, because I learn more from those. If I'm only studying the ones I do well, then that's all he's ever going to do are those plays that he does well. There won't be any growth. There won't be, and the other players will notice what he does well and stop it, because that's the way it goes. It's a back and forth, right? Do you believe women boxers should be topless like men to level the playing field? Well, I don't know. It's like if God meant for us all to be nudists, we'd have been born with no clothes on, right? Yeah, I don't know. What I know for sure is that if I was in the ring with a woman that was topless, I wouldn't be thinking about.
All right. I'm gonna stop this now.
All right. So entrepreneurship. So these guys put in everything. What could you do today, you, that would make tomorrow better for you? And what could you do today to make life better for somebody else tomorrow? Because the reality is, if you do it just for you, it's not going to have much meaning, right? These athletes that are playing at the top of the skill set ladder. My goodness, that took a turn. Yeah, kind of did.
Glad I stopped that, huh?
Yeah, that's right. So
you're welcome.
Yeah. So what can you contribute to the stream of life, right? We talk about that a lot, right? It's like you have to know why you're wanting to do what you want to do. If it's just for self-gratification, okay, that's all right. We all have that, right? And some of that is necessary, right? You have to have some of your needs met as well. But what are you contributing to life, right? And most of us don't understand that stuff when we're young. We get that with age, right? Wisdom, as the old saying goes. We get to be where we can see that there's a bigger world than just us in it, and that we play a role along with everybody else, right? So the idea of our positive power is that the positive power is love. And the more, are you a Christian, buddy? Well, I'm a believer in God in many things. A Christian is by itself, maybe not. Anyway, back to where we're at. I love Christians. I love Buddhists. I love Jews. I love everybody.
All encompassing.
Exactly right. Exactly right. So, what can we do? What can we do today to make a better tomorrow? And when we practice that, it affects everything and everybody. Personally, I've been putting out more energy to be a positive impact on the people that I meet every day in the store that I work in, right? And yesterday I had 6 people comment on the way that I worked with people and the kindness that I demonstrated. And it was humbling. It was humbling. Muslims, yes. Muslims are people too. Absolutely. So the humbling, right? And it showed that the real power is not machismo. The real power is kindness. What was that song done by a female singer? I'm sure one of you guys will be able to know immediately who it was. It talked about, and in the end, only kindness matters, right? Only kindness matters. Everything else, we don't get to take a penny with us when we leave this plane, right? We get to take our memories, and how we've impacted the world has a much bigger imprint than how much we how much we manage to take from somebody else, right? It's not necessary.
That's right.
So how is your back doing, your hip doing? Not too good? No? All right. Well, we covered what I wanted to cover tonight, which is about understanding that it isn't what happens to you is actually happening for you. And that if we can look at what's happening and see how can we turn that to a positive rather than focusing on woe is me, everything's terrible and life is awful and oh my God and all the crisis, we'll have that upward arc that we're talking about, right? Heading upward. So for to minimize my daughter's discomfort tonight, what helps you the most? Laying flat on your side or what?
Just, you never know. It's not in one position. It's not.
I'm so sorry that you're going through that.
I'm using a deep tissue gun. I'm using TENS unit. I'm using
wow,
ice, all the good stuff.
Yeah. Well, if anyone has suggestions, you can let us know on this show and we'll pass them along, of course. And we are going to go ahead and end. We got one more comment here. Let's see what we got. Snoop Dogg. I don't know what that means, but yes, Snoop Dogg's a human being too. Yeah, we love him. Absolutely. Yep. No, it wasn't Snoop Dogg that did the song we were talking about. It was a female singer. Can't remember which one it was, but anyway, we'll get it for next time. Melissa Etheridge, and I don't think it was her. Maybe. Anyway, for my wonderful daughter, Nicole, I want to wish everybody. Oh, by the way, Nicole, we are going to be ending now. So if you were to see someone today or tomorrow who didn't have a smile, what would you do?
Give them one of Kim's because she's got a lot. I don't have a lot right now.
And why would you give them one of Kim's?
Because it makes them feel good.
Yes, and it makes us feel good too, even when we're in pain, right?
Yes.
Yes.
It's a positive half hour, guys.
Yes, we'll do the positive half hour. And Kim says, I'll give them all. Absolutely. Cheryl shares one of her smiles.
Nice. Thanks, guys, for stepping up.
Smiles here, right? And we love you all, and we'll see you next week. Hopefully, my co-host will feel better. Take care, everybody. We'll see you next week. Good night.